Hello, basketball fans. It's me, DC, here for Fantasy Basketball Analyzer. Get you ready for week 17 of the fantasy basketball season by working the waiver wire. Also, new to the studio, new to the shelf, Ja Morant Funko Pop finally came. Let's get that up there. You can watch over me from back there. We'll get him out of the box later. You know, once he's out of the box, he's in danger of dunking on anyone, I assume, even in plastic. Anyway. Ja's not on the waiver wire, because that would be insanity. Let's find some names that you can actually pick up to help you win this week. Before I start naming names, if you haven't already seen it, I did do my weekly preview. I'll link to it right here, breaking down the schedule. It's a really good streaming week. There's a lot of options, and that is going to influence who's on this list. Starting off, Javonte Green, Chicago Bulls. On Yahoo, point guard, shooting guard, and small forward eligible, which is always nice. He's playing well. He's really filling out the stat sheet. Last few games, you can see it here on the screen, but 16-3-2, with a combined 3 for steals and blocks, 13-6-2 with combined 4s for steals and blocks. All right, that keeps happening. He's filling it out, so it's really valuable, I think, in category leagues. How long is he going to hang on to this role? I'm not sure, but the Bulls have a good schedule here. They've got 4 games. There's only 8 teams that have 4 games, so that heavily influences who I'm advising picking up. But they also have 3 good streaming days on those 4 games. So you can mix and match, and then they don't have Sunday. There's only 2 games total because the league's avoiding the Super Bowl. And so you could, if Javante's still rolling, you can hang on to him. But if it's not working out, you can swap and get one of those 4 teams, because there's only 2 games on Sunday, pick someone up there and kind of carry you into the All-Star break. At 27% rostered, he's widely available. He's probably my top ad, even if it's not a long-term thing. All right, let's talk about the Indiana Pacers. First, I got Terry Taylor, 33% rostered. He's just burst out. You can see the box scores here: 21-14-5, 24-16-3. That's awesome. Probably unsustainable. Did it against Orlando, did it against Chicago, whose defense isn't great. Gets Cleveland on the 6th, which is as I'm recording this. So by the time you see this, we might have another data point. Obviously, Cleveland's a much better defense. Not a favorable matchup, and we'll see. But Indiana's super shorthanded. Part of what we thought was going to be Isaiah Jackson, 27% rostered. I almost brought him up last week and didn't talk about Isaiah Jackson. Then I saw another box score and I was like, oh man, I should have put him on the list. And then he hurt his ankle because Indiana can't keep healthy big men. Terry Taylor's really probably more of a wing, but they're using him as a big because they're so hurt. If Jackson comes back, how does that affect Taylor? I'm not sure, but Taylor had a couple good games. Is a couple games enough to prove himself for Indiana? I think they're both worth a speculative ad. I would wait on Jackson unless we hear something about his injury and him like being back already, then maybe you're interested there. Obviously, Indiana's also trying to trade their 2 starting bigs, but I don't know that any of that's going to happen. Of course, I made a video Friday and said, I don't expect any big changes to shake things up. And then immediately there was a trade. I don't think it was that big. The Portland Clippers trade, I think there's more basketball and definitely salary cap and luxury tax implications for Portland. Probably not as much fantasy impact. But this is about Indiana. I like them both. They've got a good schedule. They've got 3 games, but 2 of them are on streaming days. Specifically, these 2 games are the weekend games, the Friday, Sunday, which the Sunday in particular is valuable. I'm going to try to not keep repeating that, but I do want to hammer home. You know, that can get you enough to get you over the edge, especially if you're adding someone that gets you 21-14 or 24-16 like Taylor just did. If he gets you that on Sunday and your opponent has no games at all because there's so few options, that would be a big impact for you. Next on my list, DeAaron Mitchell, still 49% rostered, so he kind of makes us. I've talked about him in other weeks. I'm not going to hammer it home more. He's playing well. You add him, you're hoping for season-long value. Obviously, there's the possibility that Sacramento makes a trade. Right now, part of why he's playing well is Fox has been out, right? So we're seeing what DeAaron Mitchell's doing without Fox. If Fox gets traded, don't think, oh, Mitchell's going to skyrocket, because we're already probably seeing what that impact would be. If Fox comes back, it goes down. So I think we're kind of maybe at his fantasy ceiling, but if Fox goes, it might be sustainable. And so I think that's worth noting. They don't have a great schedule for this week. They've got 3 games, one of them on streaming days. I wanted to bring him up because he's still at 49%, so he's available in half of leagues, and things might change if there's a trade, but I also kind of want to temper expectations a little bit. If you're not picking up DeAaron because of what he's doing right now, I'm not expecting a surge based on anything that happens between now and the February 10th NBA trade deadline. It would just be, okay, it's staying up rather than dropping off. So weight that in when you're considering some of the guys I'm talking about. Another familiar name, Jackson Hayes. I think you guys know I bring him up a lot because when he's playing, he's kind of like Hernan Gomez. When the big man is in the rotation for the Pelicans, they produce fantasy stats, and that's valuable. Do I believe in the player that much? No, I really don't. I would like to be wrong, but I just haven't seen enough sustained thing. He's only 18% rostered, so he's available in 81% of leagues if you want to pick him up. He just had 22 and 11. If he keeps that up, that's good. They don't have a great schedule for this coming week. 3 games, 1 on a streaming day. But if you're looking for big man stats, he just had a big game. Do I think he's going to shoot a perfect from the floor and free throw line every single game? No, I don't. And so if you sort by averages, it's going to look a little screwy if you say, like, what's his 14-day average? But I do think he's viable. He's not going to hurt you in any of the percentages, and you can't always find a big man on the waiver wire that is able to do that while contributing points and rebounds and not a ton else. There's some blocks in there. Okay, next I want to talk about Taurean Prince because he's playing well right now. 23-6, 23-9, 5 3-pointers and 6 3-pointers in those games. Those are big breakout kind of fantasy games. He's only 14% rostered. And a big reason he's making the list is because Minnesota has a great schedule for this week. 4 games, 3 on streaming days, but they specifically are one of those teams that have the Friday and Sunday, trying to get that extra Sunday game. Their schedule, their 4 games are shifted a little bit later. They also have good matchups. Sacramento, Chicago, Indiana. All of that makes Minnesota overall valuable. So Taurean Prince at 14% rostered, widely available, 86%. If he can keep this up, I think he really can help your team. And you don't have to make this move yet because you're probably not going to get him in your lineup till Wednesday. You might be able to wait a day. That said, Malik Beasley, 29% rostered, and Pat Beverly, 31% rostered. I think all of these guys are viable options, but I don't think I need to talk more about Malik or Pat Bev because I think you guys know what I think about those guys. They've been at what I've referred to, like Pat Beverly, Patty Mills, Derrick Rose when he's healthy. They were kind of like always my cutoff of some teams should probably have them rostered at all times, but they're right there. You cut them for streaming, stuff like that. So when they've got a great schedule, I think they're worth scooping up if they're available in your league. I think Taurean Prince makes that list as well. Spot star for this week. Cut him and move on if it doesn't fit you for the All-Star break. OKC also has a good schedule while their opponents aren't as much of a cakewalk games. They got Golden State, Toronto, Philly, and Chicago. But they've got 4 games, 3 of them on streaming day. Like I said, only 8 teams have 4 games. So this does help for your weekly lock leagues or for your daily streaming. Darius Bazley's playing well. He just had 18-7. He got you 3 steals. Before that, he only had 4 points, but he got you 12 rebounds, 3 assists, a block, and a steal. It's not going to be consistent, and the field goal percentage isn't going to be great, but you can plug him in. He's 29% rostered, so he's available in 70% of leagues, and I think he could help your team. Now, you can go the other way and take a look at Trey Mann, who's been playing well, but also inconsistent. He had 16-3 in this last game. Before that, he had 9-3, but before that, he had 29 points, 6 3-pointers, but no rebounds. He had 3 assists. So it's really kind of up and down. I prefer it in a points league where it's condensed. Again, his field goal percentage isn't going to be great, but it's his minutes that I think are interesting. So the 16-3-3 versus the 9-3, they both were exactly 32 minutes. They're against Sacramento and Portland, so they're good matchups. Played 41 minutes against Dallas. Well, anyone for OKC might go up in value towards the end of the season as they maybe lean into more of the tank. I think they're also just trying to play their best guys and figure things out. And we're in the back half of the season, right? There's only 30 games left for the teams, give or take. That doesn't mean that they're going to be worth hanging onto the whole time. Most of the time, these guys that we're saying, oh, they might tick up a little, are still in that streaming range value. We're going to cut them and try and just use the best schedule and plug guys in for what you need, at least based on my advice. That's what I'd expect. So if Trey Mann's hot, or Darius Bazley, and they're available and they fit your schedule and you want to scoop them up here, use them for the start of the week. And if it's not working out, you switch off and try and grab someone from Minnesota. I think that's a good way to attack your week, and don't overthink it of like, I got to hang on to him forever because it's going to keep working. It's probably not. All right, buried at the bottom of the list, who's maybe one of the hottest pickups right now, is Reggie Bullock for the Dallas Mavs, 31% rostered. He just had 20-4. He had 23-8 with an assist and 3 steals. But before that was 10-6. Before that was 23-3. Really, it's a lot of 3-pointers, right? If we just run it down here, 4, 5, 3, 6, 4. That's a lot of 3-pointers to pile up over the last few games against Philly, against OKC, Orlando, Indiana, Portland. He had a pretty good stretch of games for like positive matchups, right? Besides Philly, you kind of like to attack all those teams in there. If Reggie Bullock keeps this up for a little bit, I think it could be valuable. But Dallas doesn't have a good schedule here. They've got 3 games. The only streaming day is Thursday when they play the Clippers. They get Detroit, the Clippers this week. If you want to go after the hot hand, these box scores, condensed into a points league specifically, look a little more interesting than some of the guys I mentioned, but I don't think he's going to help you as much this week as grabbing Javonte Green and getting a couple extra games out of him or something like that. I've got a couple names on my watch list that I would like you guys to add to the watch list, but not make any moves on yet. Derrick Rose is talking about coming back after the All-Star break. So that is still 3 fantasy weeks away. Well, 2 fantasy weeks, 3 real life weeks away from what we're talking about right now. And I don't know that he's going to come back directly after the All-Star game. It might be a month from now. We might be talking 4 weeks. But go ahead, check if Rose is available, put a flag on there. If Kemba gets traded and the guard minutes open up a little bit more, I mean, the guard rotation in New York's been a mess, but Derrick Rose can provide numbers. He's, like I've said already on this video, he's right there at that cusp of always probably should be rostered in every league, but not necessarily by every team in every league, because sometimes streaming that spot is more valuable. But go ahead, see if he's out there. Just toss the flag on there. Be ready to wait and see. And then here's a blast from the past, although he's still young. Zach Collins just played for the Spurs. He got 10.7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, but he did all that in only 13 minutes, which is kind of wild. Now, it was against Houston on February 4th, so you don't think, oh man, he lit it up against the toughest team in the world. No, but that is a really good box score for only 13 minutes. Now, what are the Spurs going to do? I don't know. Thad Young has been playing consistently, so it's not like they just plug in a big and they automatically get stats. But if Zach Collins keeps playing, maybe this would be interesting. The Spurs week, they've got 3 games. 2 of them are on streaming day, and they're a little bit later. They don't play till Wednesday, so we're not going to have any more information until the 9th when they play Cleveland, which will be a tougher matchup. But if the minutes go up or he has a really good game, especially against Cleveland, that definitely has bigs and stuff, we might want to look at him. He's only 4% rostered, so it's not must add. That's why he's on the watch list. But between now and when we talk again next week, this might change. So I want to put this name out there so you're not trying to tweet or leave a comment and say, what do you think about Zach Collins? If you see a big breakout game, you see 26 minutes, I think you go scoop him up and use him here in the middle of the week and then just see what happens. But I'm not really expecting that to happen. If you've got other names that I didn't mention or people you're deciding who do I pick up, who do I cut, go ahead and leave it down below. Who knows? Maybe Serge Ibaka caught your eye with his breakout game. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that jazz. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't yet. That'd be cool. And I'll be back if there's a big breaking trade that I think impacts fantasy. I'll try and just pop up a short video. Otherwise, I'll always be here for the weekly preview. Good luck for week 17. You know what I want you to do on the fantasy court and in real life. Go out and win your week. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, please hit the like button and leave a comment down below. It helps me grow the channel. If you want more videos like this, hit subscribe or even the little bell will give you alerts. And I'll be back soon with another video for you.